Want to know how to double your agency's revenue by doing less work? Well, the secret is in cutting your services. My name is Kyle Hunt, and I've sold an agency for 7 figures, and I've also been partner and COO of an 8 figure agency. The reason I'm talking about this is because I was speaking with a $20,000 to $25,000 a month agency owner yesterday on our onboarding call for my community agency operators level up. And he started telling me all the different services that he sells. And he went on to name websites and SEO and creative and social media content, paid ads, and there's one more that I can't even remember. And I was like, okay, let's stop there and talk about that. And I'm like, what revenue levels are you guys? He's like, oh, we're doing $25,000 a month, and our clients keep asking for services, so we keep building them. And it was creating a lot of operational complexity. He was in constant firefighting mode, thin profit margins, team burnout, all the things that you might expect from someone who's trying to do too many things. And one important note about why new or additional services make things difficult in your agency outside of the operational excellence challenges is that each service increases communication and service complexity exponentially between a team, not linearly like people would assume, but exponentially. So if you add a whole new team of people and you go from 4 to 9 people, you 4x the complexity of the system, not just doubled it like you might assume. And this happens every time you add more services and you add more people. So I call this the service specialization framework, and it has 5 key steps that can transform your agency. Number one, identify golden services, and these are the ones you do really well at, and I'll show you how to do that. Number two, eliminate everything else. And this is incredibly difficult mentally because it feels like you're failing and you're removing things. And it's also difficult because you might have to let some people go. But this is always the right decision for your business. Number three is then double down on those specialties. Number four, streamline operations, which is going to be a lot easier since you're doing few things. And then finally, number five, raise your prices because you're now an expert. So let me break this down for you. Number one, so to identify golden services, we're going to be pulling your revenue data from the last 2 to 3 years if you have it. And then I want to look at profit margins for each service and note which clients do you actually enjoy with. So those are the qualifiers, like who's paid us the most money, who has been the most profitable, because that's not always the same. You might have a client that paid you a lot of money, but they ate up all your time, your team's time. And then who do you actually just enjoy working with? And then step two, this is where it gets scary. So you got to cut everything that isn't in your top 1 and 2 services. And I mean everything. And we should start referring existing clients to trusted partners. Now, some people who know me are like, well, Kyle, you worked at weekends and weekends sold like 5 or 6 different services. What's the deal? And that's a very fair point. I think you should only sell multiple services if there is a strategic reason that you need to. And what I mean by that is at weekend, since we're investing in brands, our initial hypothesis was that we must be full service in order to scale brands as investments. Whether that is true remains to be unseen, but that was our hypothesis and the strategic reason why we added additional services, not because we needed more revenue. Step three. Now, this is the fun part. After you just went through agency hell to do the last 2 parts, is take all that freed up energy and pour it into your specialties. So create more content, and that could be YouTube content like this, or LinkedIn content, or content for ads. Boost your ad spend if you're spending on ads, and develop generally a deeper expertise in whatever services that you're offering. Step number four, with fewer services, you can finally streamline everything. So standardize your processes, simplify your delivery, reduce a lot of the back and forth communication that happens in those individual services. You can do this if you have multiple services. Again, it's just that much more operationally complex to do it. I had to do that at weekend, incredibly challenging versus if we were just a Google Ads agency or just a creative agency. And step five is where the magic can happen. Raise your prices, because when you're the specialist and not a generalist, you can charge premium rates. And I've had clients literally double their prices. I've had one client who literally tripled their prices over the past 3 months and no change to conversion. And they're a B2B lead gen agency. But here's something that's interesting is you don't even need to double or triple your price because every increase in price is a commensurate increase in your net profit. And what I mean by that is if you're a 10% net agency, let's just use this for example, and you increase your prices 10% from $100 to $110, you're now double the profit of your agency just from a 10% price increase. So if you're a 40% net margin agency, you have to have a 40% increase in price to then double your agency net profit, which does not seem like that much compared to the output that this change will have. So raise your prices. Using this framework, you can double your revenue, you can triple your profits because you're much more focused, and dramatically reduce your stress level as an agency owner because you're only focused on the important services that your clients really care about. You do a great job for them. And if you want to learn more about scaling your agency, you can subscribe to my newsletter below where I dive deeper into each of these steps. Thanks.